Good morning, and thank you for joining our 7 a.m. prayer call. We are starting a brand new devotional. This is the month of October, and we're starting a new devotional called Good Morning. So, good morning, everybody. I am on day 2. This is day 2, and the title of this devotional for day 2 is Desperation. And so, as I'm, reading through this and I'm contemplating, I'm just kind of pulling things that is kind of resonating with me. One of the things I pulled out is he said, get out of the normal. And so that just stood there for a little while and, meditating on it. And so when I hear get out of the normal, I hear stop being complacent, because complacency will have us, still feel like we're moving, but we're not really going anywhere, and we're not really getting all the things that God has for us. And so, you think about, okay, I'm good. I'm moving along. Everything's fine. Me and my husband, we're saying good morning to each other. We're speaking, but things just aren't the way they used to be. There's no freshness. There's no fire. There's no, there's no revival type, you get into your daily devotional time in the morning, and you read, you pray, you say a confession. That's what I do. Read, pray, say a confession. Those are my 3 points in a poem, and we're done. Well, we're looking for something different. We should be looking for something, something that makes us, because when we get complacent, that means things are kind of going the way they need to go. And I had to really start looking differently at adversity. At one point I'm like, which I do. I don't like adversity. If I didn't have to do it, I really feel like in my heart, I probably would choose not to. But one of the things that I realized about adverse conditions, they really make you start seeking out what it is that can help you not be in that situation anymore. And so one of the things we have to realize is when we get in adverse situations, we need to seek out God, not seek the answer to, or necessarily seek the stuff. Like if we're in a financial crisis, we're not necessarily looking for God. Looking for money. I'm looking for God. I'm looking for him, because he is the person or the one that's going to tell me how to get the money, how I can pay the bill, or how I can do what needs to be done. In my desperation, in our desperation, we need to start seeking out and seeking the things of God and say, God, what would you have for me to do in this season? Desperation says, the devotional talks about desperation says there has to be more, and I need it. I want it. I know there has to be more that is out there. And that's absolutely true. And so, you think about desperation will cause you to do things that we say we never would do. And I don't mean in a bad way. So we're not going to go from that aspect, but I'm even in a positive way. Desperation will cause us to, give up things where we were like, oh, I'm saved, but, I'm good with this group of people over here, and God's been telling us forever to give it up. And we get in a situation where we know we need to give it up in order for something to happen. When we get desperate enough, we will give up that situation just like that for God. And so that's how desperation works. That's what it's for, is to put us in uncomfortable situations where we say, wait a minute, I have to choose what I'm going to do. I drink lots of bottled water, and, I'm real funny about my water. And I normally, all you'll ever see me drink is alkaline water. That's pretty much all I'm going to drink. That's all you'll see. But if I'm somewhere and I have no water and I am thirsty and I feel like I'm about to pass out, if they have some spring water, some tap water, even probably some well water, I'm going to drink it, because I have gotten I'm in that moment desperate enough to get the thing, even though it's not what I like, but it is what I need, which I need that water in order to refresh me so that I can survive. And so we have to realize that in our desperation, we need to grab hold to the one that revives and refreshes us, the one that we need, because sometimes in our complacency, complacency. We turn our backs on God, but we don't really realize we're turning our backs on him. We don't have that same, fervor and that same passion that we once had. It's just kind of like sitting on dock of the bay. We're here, we love the Lord. We're doing what we need to do. Or we think we're doing what we need to do. And we think that, that's all it takes. But God is calling us higher. He is calling us to deeper, higher things. He's calling us to be witnesses for him in the earth. He's calling us to go, some of us to go and preach the word. He's calling some of us to be kingdom project financiers, where we're giving money to kingdom projects in order for people to be blessed in this earth. He's causing some of us to preach the word. He's causing some of us to just be volunteering and serving in our local church. He's calling us to do so much more. And a lot of us, we filled our time with so much other stuff. We just like, God, I don't have time. But it's so amazing when we get in a desperate situation, when it looks like things aren't going to work out, we run back to God. Why do we have to do that? I just say, let's just do what God called us to do. Let's just do what he asked us to do in the first place. We have to move from what's normal, or I'll say what's familiar. Because sometimes familiarity it breeds contentment. It's like, I know you, I know who you are. Have you ever tried to give somebody advice and you know your advice is right? It's really what they need to do. But because of the familiar relationship, they're like, you just in my business, or you just saying that because you already know my business, or you're just doing that because you already know who I am. And so but we've got to move past that. And we've got to open our ears with greater discernment. And we've got to hear what God is saying to the church. We've got to hear what God is saying to his people. Let me tell you something. I know for a fact in this particular season, God is really trying to show himself and show who he is in the earth. Now, no one knows when God is coming back. No one knows but the Father. Jesus doesn't even know. But I will tell you, I can begin to look around and discern and see signs and things that are happening that's saying, okay, we've got to be in our last days. We've got to be, in a place where, okay, God is going to have to say enough is enough. Well, God is looking for us. He's looking for us to be the ones to go out and preach the gospel and to take the message and to witness and to talk to our friends and to have conversations and to have life groups where we're talking to people and doing certain things. This is the thing. When Jonah, we all grew up Jonah in the whale. Well, when God told Jonah to go and preach to Nineveh, and Jonah said, no, I don't want to do that because, he was mad at the Ninevites. He said because they had killed and murdered his friends and his cousins and family members and all of that stuff. But when God tells us to do something, we need to go ahead and do it, because we don't want to be in a situation where it's so desperate that now, God, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I done went through all of this when all I had to do was just do what you said in the first one. Because here's the thing, we're going to do it. We're going to do it anyway. Most of us are not going to just say, you know what, God, I don't care what you say. I'm just not going to do it. We may say, God, we just don't want to. God, I'm so nervous. I'm just going to wait a little while before I do it. You have some people now. I'm not going to say, but, most of us are probably not going to just say, I'm just not going to do it. So let's go ahead and just do it from the beginning. I'm talking to myself too. Let's just do it from the beginning. Let's just do what God says. So the scripture that they put attached to the devotional was Psalms 42:1. And it says, as the deer longs for the streams, and that's the New International Version. It says, as long as the deer, as the deer longs for the streams, so I long for you, oh God. So that's what he's wanting us to do. That desperation is supposed to not make us frustrated or mad or angry. It is supposed to drive us to want his presence in our lives so bad. It is to drive us to want to do what God says so bad that no matter what happens, no matter who says it, no matter who talks about us. See, all of that goes out of the window when you're desperate. See, when we have options and we don't feel like we're really desperate and we don't, it's like, okay, this is going to work out. Well, I'm good right here. We can keep up this facade and who we are and all that. But when we are desperate, and we need God to move. We need him to move like never before. We need him like never before in our lives. That is when we let down all of that of who we are, all of those titles, all of the, this or who people think we are or what people think we got. But that's when we let all of that down and we go toward what God is asking us to do, because in his presence there is fullness of joy. In his presence there is everything that we need. When we stop and we start focusing in, and our desperation takes us toward God and what the things that God would have for us to do, when we commit and we say, you know what, I'm tired of being out here complacent and just walking in familiarity and just doing stuff, just because we want to do it, sometimes like robots, we're just doing it, just to say, okay, check the box. I read and I prayed this morning. Check the box. I read some scriptures, check the box. I made a couple of confessions. No, God does not want us checking the box. He wants a full, fervent, full of fire relationship with him. He wants us connected. He wants a connection, a fullness. He wants the real of who we are, not all this other stuff. So I'm here to tell you, listen, get desperate enough for God today to move toward the things that he's telling us to do. So he won't have to keep putting us in these scenarios and situations that we have to, be in a desperate position. So thank you so much for joining our 7 a.m. prayer call. Join us on tomorrow where we will be on day 3. Make sure if you haven't signed up or you haven't logged in to the link or scanned the QR code, do that so you can jump in and join the devotional as we go through it in the Bible app, so that we all can talk and share our thoughts, because it's always awesome to get the thoughts and perspectives of other people, because they really ministers to me. So let's make sure we do that. All right, I will see you guys later.